Can you, from a vibrational standpoint, talk about the word responsibility? Because that's a conflicting word for me when I think about doing what I want to do sometimes. I just would like to hear you talk about responsibility.
Let's look more to its roots. Let's start with the idea of response first. And then let's talk about the law of attraction. And then let's talk about connection and how in sync you are with your inner being. We've been talking about, so you decide to meditate and you quiet your mind. And if you quiet your mind, you stop thought. And if you stop thought, you stop resistant thought. And if you stop resistant thought, your vibration rises. And when your vibration rises, now you're in sync with source energy and your inner being. And now things will begin occurring to you. Thoughts will occur to you. Impulses will come to you. You're being responsive to your vibration. Mm-hmm. So rather than responsibility, for just a little bit, we want to talk about what I'm responsive to. And what I'm responsive to in my human form is the vibration that I'm most matched to. If I've practiced my alignment with my inner being, then I'm most responsive to what my inner being knows. If I've been watching television and complaining about this and that and this and that, or if I'm in the middle of an uncomfortable relationship at work or at home or whatever, then that might be what's active in me, and I'm responsive to that. Our friend was talking about his father, who's responsive to all kinds of things because of the thoughts he's been thinking and the life he's been living. So now you want to take that responsiveness, which we want to call a law of attraction thing, and you want to make yourself responsible. So if you're going to be responsible, then you've got to be responsible. About inner being, they will say things like, let your conscience be your guide, or they will say things like, follow your gut instinct and things like that. People have been dabbling in this. All kinds of people have had connection and inspiration, and they get that. This is not the first conversation about any of this, but most people are living life by default, and most people are just responding to what they're giving their attention to. Then there are those who decide they're going to lead someone, lead a child, or even lead a mate, or lead a group of people who are working for you, or lead a team. And their attitude about leadership often is by pointing out to you the things that will go wrong if you don't do this, and if you don't do this. If you don't do this, you're going to get fired, and if you don't do this, you're not going to amount to anything, and if you don't do this. And so most people have been pushing hard against what they don't want, and then disallowing what they do want. And so their idea of what comes to them is all disturbed. It's all distorted, because even in religion, they will say to you, if you keep these rules and you do these things and you don't do these things, then you will be rewarded. Is giving it to you now. What's happening in non-physical is what's happening here. When you don't feel good, you've pinched yourself off from it, and there isn't a reward. Your rewards are happening here. It's what alignment is. It's the emotion that you feel in any moment is what you're reaching for, you see. So people who want something from you will convince you that there's this set of rules that you need to follow. And rarely does that set of rules include do your best to feel good as much as you can. Usually the rule is, I'm going to need your sacrifice and your commitment, and I'm going to need you to do these things, and you need to put this first no matter what.
I don't think it's other people doing it to me. I think it's me doing it to myself.
Well, we think so too at this point, but we don't think you learned it from nobody.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I'm the one doing it, just to be clear.
But it's such a wonderful thing when you now know that. If you just leave here with this one understanding. We like that word, understanding. What's standing under? What's the basis beneath what you know? So if you just leave here with this one understanding that your inner being is you, and your inner being is the non-diluted, non-resistant version of you, and that your inner being is even what you want to call future because it hasn't manifested yet, but we want to call presence because it is a vibrational reality version of you, and that your inner being has a point of attraction, and so do you, and that your emotions equal that resonance or lack of it, that harmony or discord, that allowance or disallowance. And so when you feel negative emotion, Esther stops often, and when she's feeling some negative emotion about something, and she acknowledges, you guys don't feel this way about that, do you? And I know why. Thanks for reminding me. Her emotions remind her all day, every day. That's what they're for. It's guidance.
I said to my wife, I said, sometimes I let it get so bad it feels like mental illness, but I came up with a new word for it. I called it mental willness because of the stuff I'm sometimes willing to put up with. And that's that moment where you just stopped it is really important.
And if you don't stop it, it's all right. It'll get bigger, but then something will distract you, because at this point in what you've got going on, once you know these things, once you acknowledge that you are an extension of source energy, do you know that? And once you acknowledge that that source energy part of you is vividly aware and active in your life experience, do you know that? And once you understand that the things that you've asked for, your inner being is aware of and is attracting on your behalf, do you know that? Is attracting on your behalf. Then there's only one question to ask yourself. Am I a cooperative component right now? And if you got negative emotion going on, the answer is no, not right now. It doesn't mean no, not ever. No, not right now. Not while I feel like this. And if you're frisky and feeling full of fun and you're loving life, then you're letting it in, you're letting it in, and you're letting it in. And before you know it, you start really noticing the difference. You can feel when you're in the flow and when you're not. And the most important thing that your inner beings want us to convey to you is that when you're not in the flow, it's okay. Because your negative emotion about yourself could only exist because your inner being isn't having any negative emotion about you. If your inner being were as mad at you as you are, you wouldn't feel mad. Doesn't that make sense? It's the fact that your inner being knows that all is well and you don't that makes you feel bad. It's that your inner being knows that you are wonderful and you don't that makes you feel bad. Sort of makes you appreciate that discord, doesn't it? Ooh, my inner being must really love me because I'm feeling real bad right now.